Welcome to my video of 5 exercises to help increase your dog's listening skills, self-control, and mental stimulation. What you will need is a clicker, very yummy treats, a floppy toy, and 2 people for the last exercise.
What if he doesn't let up?
Here's a brief view of the exercises that you will learn to do in this video.
Ready? Vader, leave it. Leave it. Vader, leave it. Vader, come here. Good boy. Good.
Exercise 1. This is a great exercise for anyone who has not taught their dog a leave it. Starting the behavior, retraining the brain to think that acting upon the impulses do not pay off. You start by offering your hand to the dog with a yummy treat inside. Let the dog lick and nibble to get the treat as long as the dog is not a hard biter. This is what the dog initially wants to do. It's the impulses are telling the dog, go for the treat, try to get it out, problem solve. But when the dog stops doing what his mind is telling him to do and either A, backs off and wanders off, B, gives any space, or C, offers any other behavior, click and reward.
So when he does the opposite of what he really wants to do, which is move his head away from my hand, that's when you click to mark a good behavior. So instead of trying to maul my hand, don't maul my hand, that's what gets you the treat. So you're basically retraining the brain. What if he doesn't let up? Oh, there we go. Horrible complaints. Boy. That was quick. And the fact that he's not going right back to my hand, that's why I'm doing it again.
Now that your dog is great with the first exercise, we're going to move on to exercise 2, is you can look, but you can't touch. So we're going to start using the leave it cue. Now the dog is getting the idea that not to immediately go for what he wants, we're going to extend our hand with the treat in it while saying leave it. If your dog goes for the treat, you're going to retract your hand away. Extend your hand again once the dog is sitting or laying down. If the dog doesn't go for the treat in your hand, click and reward. When you extend your hand, make sure your hand is at least 12 inches from your dog's nose. Any closer and it may be too difficult for your dog to not go for it right now.
Leave it. Okay, so you see the arm?
Once your dog is doing well with that, now we're going to play take your eyes away from the prize. Now I don't want you to look or touch it.
Leave it. Vader, leave it. I'm sorry. Vader, leave it. Yeah, good boy. Sit. Leave it. Yeah. See?
If the dog doesn't look at your face right away, make a little kissy noise to trigger him or her to look up. Click the moment that they do. Exercise 3 is all about a free-for-all. This exercise is going to challenge your dog in a whole new way from the previous 2. Here we're going to put the treat on the ground. Generally when you do this, the dog usually assumes that it's a free-for-all, that whoever gets there first gets the treat. This is really going to start working on their self-control because we're going to put the treat down, we're going to ask for a leave it, and we're going to keep our hand close by. If the dog goes for it, we quickly cover the treat and take it away. If the dog doesn't go for it and gives us a little bit of eye contact even, we're going to click and reward. Sometimes you don't have to work right away for that eye contact, but just make sure that they don't go for it, then put in the eye contact later.
Try to outsmart the system. Leave it.
The reason I'm not clicking here is because Vader has put his head on the floor and he's chosen not to go for it. So I'm going to ask a little bit more out of him just because I know he was doing so well with not going for the treat, and I'm going to ask for that eye contact. Exercise 4 is the impulse control game. This is one of the most important games to play with your dog if they'll tug. There are many myths out there that say that playing tug will increase aggressions in dogs, it creates aggression, etc. It can definitely cause problems if you don't have control out of the game. This exercise will teach your dog to A. Drop something that is in their mouth, anything from food to inanimate objects. B. Exercise the brain to become aroused and yet still be able to listen. And C. Calm down faster after becoming excited. To start off a game, you want to get the dog tugging, and quickly, right after you start, you want to ask the dog to leave it. Engulf the toy as much as you can as long as you don't have a strong biter. If this isn't working or if you have too much of a chomper, get a piece of treat and put it just above the dog's nose. This should trigger the dog to leave the tug and go for the treat. After they let go, play the tug game again and repeat.
Leave it. Leave it. Leave it.
Once the dog can start releasing the tug, I want you to start asking for a sit as soon as the dog lets go of the tug. This is going to help put the dog in a stationary position and calm them down. As soon as they do that, you can either click or mark with a yes and play the tug game again. Make sure when you give the tug back, your anticipation for the game is going to be extremely exciting. So go from very calm to really excited and start shaking around that tug so the dog anticipates that you're going to play again.
Oh, you're trying to get grip. Okay, ready? There. Leave it. Leave it. Okay, go get it. You get your mommy to play.
Exercise 5 is about imitating real distractions. How many times have you practiced a cue 100% only to go outside and have your dog ignore you in low distraction environments? This exercise will practice what the dog gets to do while there are distractions around. We set up a scenario where there is the distraction, which is going to be me or one of the owners, and the handler is not far from me, being trying to get the dog away from the distraction. It's a game. The distraction job is to be slightly distracting, and the owner's job is to practice the cue and get the dog used to these scenarios that can happen. The goal for the game is to teach the dog that even in distracting environments, the handler is what pays off and will be the highest reinforcement. The distraction should not really give the dog anything, such as food or anything over there. The only reinforcing thing in this environment should be the handler. Vader here is continuously being rewarded by the handler for not going back over to the distraction. It pays off to sit next to the owner and listen.
Leave it. Good boy. I wonder if we have
Vader, leave it. Leave it. Vader, leave it.
Nice.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Because this is
Vader, leave it. Vader, leave it. Come on.